Hey everybody, my name is Arlen Schweiger. I'm the editor of CE Pro Magazine, and I'm really proud to present the next panel that we have here this afternoon. We're going to talk about what to know in digital signage, key trends, and how to stay ahead of the curve. So there's a lot going on in digital signage, especially pertinent this CD Expo because we're co-located with the inaugural Commercial Integrator Expo, which we know coming from the commercial field and that market, digital signage has been around forever. Now I think that we're seeing so many micro LED walls, video walls, other applications come into the residential industry. There's really great crossover opportunities. So with that in mind, I'd like to thank the sponsor, the Digital Signage Federation, and we'll have my panelists introduce themselves, what role they and their companies play, because there's a lot more than just the display to go up there. There's many more considerations when it comes to digital signage in terms of applications, products, devices, connected devices in it. The end user, of course, they're going to have different types of systems that they're going to need, and the serviceability and more. So with that, Ryan, I'll pass the microphone over to you. And first, start us off with, everyone is here as part of the Digital Signage Federation, but tell us first, after you introduce yourself, what it is and why they're sponsoring a session at the CD Expo.
Great. As I said, my name is Ryan Cahoy. My company is Rise Display. We do the scrolling ticker displays. So on the residential side, sports tickers you see in high-end man caves, stock tickers in offices. On the commercial side of things, we do tickers for business schools, sports books, different commercial applications like that. I'm also currently the vice chairman of the Digital Signage Federation. I've been serving on the board for about 8 years. This is our first year at the CEDIA event. I was part of helping kind of coordinate the two groups together, and it's been really exciting for us. Like, we're a collection, we're a nonprofit group of vendors, end users, integrators, and we really want to get integrators more involved in the DSF to help complete the ecosystem. As I said, we're a nonprofit. Our focus is spreading the good word of digital signage. We host networking events. We've got a mix and mingle tonight that'll be downstairs if any of you want to join us. We do about 3 or 4 of those a year around the country. We do online education sessions that our members put on, so our whole thing is for members, by members. But really what we're trying to do is help promote digital signage, educate integrators such as yourselves on how they can get more involved and grow their businesses with it. And our booth's right over there towards the end of this first aisle. So afterwards, if you want to get, speak with us, get some unbiased opinions, learn how you can get more involved with the DSF, please stop by and talk. Several of our board members are hanging out there.
And Ryan, in terms of the DSF, how can they learn more about it post that, being here in terms of who they're supposed to contact, what other kinds of events you might be seen at?
Yeah.
And how big is the membership?
I think we got 250, 300 company members, and then individual members, they'll sign up, as many as a company wants to. Best resource is our website, digitalsignagefederation.com.org, either one. Out there you can see a calendar of all the events that we're attending, where our mix and mingles are, who our board members are, what it costs to join. It's free for end users. We've got different tiers depending on how many members you want to from your organization to join, what kind of benefits, how we can amplify your message and what you're doing. But the website's the best source.
Great, thank you. Megan, go ahead.
My name is Megan Zeller. I'm with Peerless-AV, so I am in business development. I head up several key verticals for us, including our direct view LED mounting sales.
All right, thank you. Jeffrey?
Jeffrey Weitzman, so I'm with Navori Labs. We're a software engineering company based in Switzerland. I joined the company in 2010, so about 13 years doing digital signage software. And we also do an AI computer vision product that helps to measure the environment and get statistics about the physical space. So that helps us to understand engagement with digital signage, and that's my job.
All right, and Jay?
Hi, Jay Leedy. I'm with Sony Electronics. We've been with the CEDIA side of the business for a long time. You've probably seen us for many years if you've been in this industry. But we do have a selection of our Pro AV product here. My role is really in building out a partner ecosystem, supporting technical alliances in a business development capacity to ensure that partners like Navori and other software partners across a range of different applications can run natively on our Pro Bravia line of product.
Great. Well, thank you all for those introductions. So let's get a little more into, digital signage and why it's going to be a topic here at the Smart Stage, and that is, sort of, as we were talking about, that crossover opportunity where resi dealers can get more into maybe more light commercial, Rezimercial, and then on the flip side, for any Pro AV dealers who maybe, are getting into some smaller jobs, different clientele, perhaps different end users, and then maybe even dabbling in some residential as well. So in terms of where you're seeing the digital signage market right now and the perspective of, each of where your companies are kind of in that ecosystem, where do you see the resi and commercial opportunities these days? And Ryan, let's come back to you.
Sure. I'll let these guys talk about markets and different applications. I mean, their digital signage is ubiquitous. It's everywhere these days. So, there's really an industry it doesn't touch. But I think, especially if you're on the residential side, where I would start is the low-hanging fruit, your existing customers, where you've been doing the smart homes and the technology in their homes. Those people are probably executives in local businesses. They own the coffee shops. They work at the banks. So if you can find your best clients and figure out, hey, what are the digital signage opportunities? Because it's definitely easier to sell an existing client a new product than it is to go out and develop a totally new customer. So I would start with the low-hanging fruit, your existing clients and how you can help them out.
I would agree with that. I would piggyback on that. One of the things that's really unique about Sony's offering versus some of our competitors is that we have the same chipsets and also the same operating system from our professional to consumer displays. So that offers opportunity for customers that are maybe not yet familiar with the digital signage market. In many cases, small businesses will purchase consumer TVs for digital signage, and they'd be able to do that with Sony, learn about the value of digital signage as well as simultaneously the value of having a commercial display and why that makes sense for a given environment without having to deviate from their strategy. So that's a kind of a nice way to kind of educate and migrate people and initiate them into the industry.
So piggybacking a little bit on what Jay said, the opportunity for a residential integrator to move into digital signage is quite significant because it's an area of high growth. There's a lot of opportunity to make money, and it's an opportunity to really put your existing skill sets to work. It's a lot of what you already know, and it's taking that existing expertise and using it in a new way to find new monetization strategy. At the same time, as Jay mentioned, you get to work with a lot of the same vendors because a lot of the same vendors have crossover. So they have a residential part and they have a commercial part. So you could also take advantage of those existing relationships, which is a major plus. And then finally, of course, look for the low-hanging fruit. Where do you have relationships? You can move into any type of corporate office, bars and restaurants, hotels. So I would say the opportunity for signage is everywhere, and I think that's why we're seeing year-over-year high growth rates for the industry.
And Megan, how about you? Peerless, we know you guys work on both sides of the market. You've been in the resi side for a long time, the commercial side, so you know the differences, the ins and outs of the mounting aspect of the application, and so those important, reliable accessories. How are you connecting your different dealers to seeing this market?
Well, we also have a line of, like a prosumer line of outdoor displays. Those are an immediate crossover, especially in the hospitality, bar, restaurant area. So if someone has experience mounting, and obviously, keeping within that warranty, because outdoor TVs are a bit specialty, you have special mounting, you have to follow very specific instructions. So if you have tried and tested things where you're able to do that, obviously going into any business with those same outdoor TVs is an easy transition, and that's one we've seen where some of our CEDIA integrators have gone into hotels and done their bar and restaurant areas easily because it's a very similar use case.
So from the manufacturer side then, when you have customers, especially at trade events that you attend, and they want to get into digital signage and they're trying to talk to you a little bit more, they don't know all the ins and outs of it, Tell us a little bit about how those conversations go with integrators, especially, you know, whether it's commercial or residential, and they just are new to digital signage in general, and what's involved, all the pieces that have to, you know, interact together. Ryan, do you want to start off with that one?
Sure. I guess if you're looking, where can you go learn about it and get stuff? I'll start with the Digital Signage Federation. Like, we're a great resource with online education where you can pick up some unbiased topics, micro-credentials on whether it's hardware, software, et cetera. I guess a couple of bits of advice as you're looking to get into digital signage. First off, don't get paralyzed trying to analyze everything. If you try to evaluate every display type, every mount type, every media player operating system, every digital signage CMS, you're never going to get started. You're going to spend all of your time evaluating, and the industry is always changing and always evolving. So I've seen it for years where companies say, well, I don't know enough, I'm not comfortable enough to sell it. Well, they're never going to get off that. So my first advice would be, don't get paralyzed. Find your best clients, just go sell a couple and learn what you don't know. Keep it small. Your first projects may not be as profitable, but you're going to learn some valuable lessons. The second bit of advice I'd give you is find good partners. Sony, Navori, Peerless. Don't just Google what's the cheapest digital signage software, what's the lowest cost display, because when something fails, not if, when it fails, you want to have an account rep that you can call that's going to give you advice that's going to help you get out of that jam. So surround yourself with the right vendors. I think that's a really important factor.
I would agree. I just want to kind of piggyback on that. One of the best ways to learn about digital signage is actually do it yourself, for yourself. Your organization can benefit from digital signage, and really a lot of what we see in the growth in this sector is about participation and engagement with employees, reaching diversified schedules, especially since, you know, hybrid working is now seemingly permanent, ensuring that you can have the same kind of connection and same kind of engagement with all your employees, and understanding how you can leverage those tools, speak to those tools, but also building towards what ultimately is going to be really important for the CI and kind of more pro integrator side, is being able to capitalize on the services that you can deliver, which is really rich in margin, whether it's software or content development, consulting on the infrastructure components. All of those things kind of feed into a really nice model for an additional business for you.
Yeah, so I would complement what they said. I mean, you want to look for partners that are reputable, that have been in the space for a long time, and that you can build a good rapport with, so that when something goes wrong, you have good support to offer to your customers and you're not left by yourself. So I say my number one advice is don't be price driven. Look for good margin, good reputation, then you can make a lot of extra services on top of that, which in the long term as you grow could be another strong segment of your business.
Absolutely, I echo what you said. So for us, it's interesting. We actually have a customer, Pam in the back, shout out to you. One of our customers has done some small LED walls with us. They got a call recently, and I mean, when I say small LED walls, like household LED walls, so nothing of significant size. They got a call from one of their customers, and they were telling them that they wanted to do a massive LED wall in a huge public space. And they said, well, you can help us, you've done these small ones. So they called us and they said, you have to help us do this. Like, you have to walk us through the process. So in trusting your partners will get you there. And it's actually with Sony as well. So it's in the ecosystem. So it's something where you can easily transition from that small resi opportunity to something larger just by asking questions, getting to know your customer well, and then trusting your partners to deliver. So on that project, I know that Sony and Peerless will both be on site for many weeks, assisting and basically getting our customer up to speed. So you can rely on your manufacturer partners to get you there. And I think that's really the name of the game here, is that, you know, if you don't know, ask the questions, and it's likely that someone will be able to fully support you.
Yeah, and I'd also keep in mind that it's a good mix, because the integrator, the residential integrator, also creates a lot of value for us as a manufacturer. I'll speak from a software point of view. There's a huge part of the market that we miss because maybe it's bandwidth or just time in order to go after that segment. And if with the right partnerships with the right integrators, you know, we're 100% channel based. So this is going to help us to reach a new market. So we have a lot of motivation to make that work. and we're going to get to customers that we would not otherwise get to, that would have likely ended up buying off of the first product they found on Google, which we all know is going to end up with headaches that maybe you'll have to solve after they made the mistake. So you could save them that hassle and get ahead of the curve. So it's definitely a strong mutual opportunity.
Ryan, were you going to add to that? Are you good? So let's talk about those opportunities then, and why digital signage is important for customer engagement, integrator engagement, just in terms of the breadth of applications that are out there. What are some of the, just going over some of the popular ones that you see, some of the ones that are overlooked often, and really for this crowd especially can get their creative juices flowing, their design acumen and all that. Ryan, why don't we start it off with you again?
Sure. I think it's always fun to read the case studies and the articles about the 1,000-screen rollouts into retail or the stadium or the airport. And those are great, but they take horsepower. You got to have the right partners to do it. I wouldn't suggest starting there because you're going to run up against some bigger companies with more horsepower and the references to do that. Again, I come back to the low-hanging fruit. Try to find the 3 to 5 screen opportunities that are right in your backyard. Learn, get the references, again, learn what you don't know, and grow into those kinds of projects. And digital signage is everywhere. I mean, you leave your house, the car dealership, the hotel, the coffee shop, McDonald's, I mean, you name it, everybody's got a digital screen now. So, where traditionally print was there, now it's becoming digital, and you should look at that as, why aren't you getting that business? Why should somebody else get it? So, again, any industry's fair game at this point.
Megan, how about you?
I think it's an easy transition. If you're already trusted in someone's home, which is the most intimate space, I think it's easy to ask for the business in their business. I think once you've established that you're capable of doing it, because the CEDIA customer is truly the toughest customer. I can tell you a home install is the most difficult install you'll do. I mean, there are no fingerprints, no footprints. I mean, everything has to be flawless. So if you can execute in that space for that customer, I think they would be very willing to open the doors and allow you in. You just have to ask.
And are they coming to you with specific, going from the residential side and saying, hey, what are some of the applications that we should start in? We do maybe some bars and restaurants here and there, or a dentist's office or something like that. What are the good ones to start?
Well, I would say if you're in the outdoor entertainment side of things, bars and restaurants, especially, summertime, but you have to start talking about it probably 6-9 months in advance. So it's really a conversation now for next year to plan, especially if you're in a northern climate. So it's something where, that's I would say the easiest transition. If you're installing somebody's backyard outdoor TV and they're spending the money there, then certainly they should spend the money in their business to do the same. But on the interior side, we're seeing a lot of fine pixel pitch going in people's homes, and yet their businesses don't have that. So I find that fascinating that you'll invest the money personally, but professionally, it's not on the radar. So really, we're seeing the transition now where it's everywhere. And it's anytime there's an opportunity for a fine pixel pitch application indoor, that's where we're seeing the customer says, oh, well, I didn't realize you did this for the business side of things as well. So, and for us, it's the same team of people that assist in that. So it's an even easier transition for our integrators because there's no new people involved.
Right, so it's the same tech support and all that. Jeffrey, how about on your end in terms of what are the key verticals that you're seeing the most growth in?
So as an industry, digital signage keeps growing. So that involves almost every end market. I would say if I was just getting into digital signage, remember that it is an industry that's becoming more matured. So the applications are everywhere, and the need to have digital signage is somewhat already established. So you don't need to reestablish that somebody can benefit from it. I think people understand already, generally speaking, that they could use digital signage. It's just a question of which digital signage are they going to use, how are they going to service and support it. So I would actually start looking close to home, where do you have relationships, and let your existing relationships and your existing opportunities drive those end market decisions. So weird to say it, but I would almost be opportunistic about it.
Jay, from Sony's standpoint, you guys have obviously a ton of product on the consumer side, a ton of product on the pro side. How is it for you helping your dealers make the proper decisions and what they need, and where are you seeing the popular installations these days?
I think it's really about taking advantage of a range of functionalities through cloud software and services that are about increasing efficiency in the operations of various businesses, and it doesn't matter what businesses those are, but products like Zendesk and ServiceNow that have open APIs that allow software platforms to ingest data and present that data in a way that at a glance makes it really easy to make good decisions operationally. That's super valuable. So imagine if you've got a team of customer service people and you're trying to raise the overall service level of how they engage with your customers. Visibility to how the rest of the team's performing helps to motivate the team to compete with each other. That gamification component is really valuable, helping people see at a glance how you're trending towards a particular goal, and just general announcements. If you think about hospitality and a range of different verticals, from hotels to senior living to even in school and educational environments, was people enter lobbies in any kind of real estate, an at-a-glance display that helped them see what's going on, what's fresh, what's new, what amenities you want to draw them to. They're going to help to kind of increase the value for them. That's super important. Those all are kind of trends that we're seeing at a macro level on digital signage.
Yeah, great points all around. Jay, let's stay with you, and we'll come back down this way on this response. But in terms of, we've talked about a lot of the opportunities that are there, some of the great solutions that are out there. What are you seeing as some of the potential pitfalls, or any of the barriers to entry that the integrators should be aware of that maybe they're not? And from a display standpoint too, what are they asking you about that they might not know quite yet that Sony's helping to guide them on?
From our standpoint, we have a special firmware that allows our commercial displays to be configured in such a way so that, especially in a public space, someone can't disrupt the application and kind of purpose that it's designed for. We call that Pro Mode. That's unique to our Pro line of displays. And I think, kind of piggybacking on Ryan's comment earlier, I would caution integrators that are interested in digital signage, again, to not become paralyzed by all the decisions and all the potential options in the market. There is a lot of options in software. They all have kind of a lot of commonalities, honestly, but they also have unique properties and unique capabilities. And as Ryan mentioned, the market is moving very, very quickly, so you can very quickly become overwhelmed rather than, I think what is more important is to jump in and develop a point of view and start to have conversations with your customers about what it is that they would like to see, what's important to them, and that'll help to kind of formulate your strategy on, helping to center on the solutions that you want to focus on.
Jeffrey, how about you? Where are you doing some of the most hand-holding, and what are some of the questions that you're being asked about a lot?
So a lot of the questions that come up are really around support and what to do day two. So you want to work with a local company that has a strong local presence. I can tell you some of our best opportunities and largest sales came from small local AV integrators that have strong local relationships, and they can leverage that to get in the door somewhere. So I would say, yeah, sometimes it's better to start small, but small or big, it's really about leveraging your existing partnerships, working with reputable companies, making sure that you have an outsourced expertise that you could rely on and that's dependable, so that day two, after you make a sale or you introduce an organization to a potential customer, you can stand behind it, and that often solves a lot of the problems that may or would have come about.
Megan, what about you, from pitfalls that you see on the commercial side with people coming over from residential and asking you about, okay, I've done like a 3x3, but now I'm asked to do, a 10x10 or something like that?
Right. Wall tolerances change as they get larger, so as far as a flat mounting plane, that's always a concern. And also a commercially rated product. In the consumer space, you can go and buy a mount off Amazon and have it be sufficient. It's not meant for a heavy use case. Where when you get into something that's commercial, you've got to worry about liability, obviously, special insurance is required, but you also need a commercially rated product for security, but also for the right use case. So you want something that's been cycle tested like 6,000 times or 4 times the weight load of the product that you're hanging. So when you're hanging above someone's head in a public space, you obviously have some additional factors to remember as you're doing that, especially in like I would say even a hotel room is a great use case where that's still one where people will come over from the consumer market and say, hey, I found a mount on Amazon, it's $10. So sure, that's great, but if it falls off the wall, what happens? Has it been tested? They're like, no, of course not. So it's really educating them on the difference between consumer versus commercial, and someone's liability insurance requires them to have commercially rated products in a commercial use case. So that's a factor as well.
Is there special sort of training that they go through with Peerless where they can get a bit of support and get used to these kind of things?
So we do have some training available. We have monthly webinars. I think it's a series of 4. We also offer CTS credits for that, so RUs are available for that. So it's something where it's basic. There's a basic course on how to mount a TV. It doesn't go into the depths of security versus non-security, but that's certainly something anyone at Peerless can tell you. We also have a live chat feature that is excellent as far as advising on the right product for the right application. So for home use, we have some fantastic products, but then when we get into the commercial stuff, obviously you're paying for a higher grade of metal, higher grade of steel, better fasteners, and something meant for a very heavy use case.
Right, definitely. It's enterprise-grade gear and materials and all that. Jeffrey, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I think I want to piggyback off what Megan said because that's a really important point. There are products that are literally designed for professional use cases. We get questions from integrators sometimes. They'll say, hey, I found a Amazon Fire Stick for $75. I'm going to use this to power 100 displays. We want to run your software. Can you help us and make sure it all works great? And the answer is, okay, I got to slow down and maybe call someone like Jay, because you want to work with vendors that build purpose-built solutions for digital signage. For example, Sony has a built-in system on chip that is optimized to run digital signage software applications and play it back in a professional setting. And I think Jay alluded to this already, but it's really about making sure that if you have important messaging that you're paying to display on a screen, you want to make sure that it's always on, you don't have a black screen, you don't have flickers, and that the experience for the audience viewing the display is as good as it possibly can be and consistent. So I would say.
Right, and I was going to say, obviously, our industry is dealing with top-of-the-line displays for a consumer-rated product and the lifetime there. But you're talking about moving into 24/7, always on, and the different things that are needed for that, whether it's power, the right equipment, the right ventilation in the equipment rack, and things like that.
Not just even the operational considerations, which are super important, 24/7 at minimum, but I think for us, we have a commitment to warranties that are much more in line with how capital assets are depreciated, with a 5-year warranty from the factory for our top-tier line. We also have a white glove service that allows for you to ensure that if you have any disruption in operation, that sign is not going to be down for an indeterminate amount of time. We really are committed to ensuring and working through our resellers to make sure that they're supported correctly and that we can stand behind that product as well.
Yeah, very good. How about Ryan? What are some of the obstacles that you see?
I'm going to be a broken record and kind of repeat a lot of the same stuff. I mean, the pitfalls are different from industry to industry. I mean, if you're selling to quick serve restaurants versus hotels versus sports bars versus banks or casinos, they all have their nuances and unique things. So I'm going to come back to, it's all about having the right ecosystem of partners to help you out. I mean, collectively, we probably have 100 years experience between the 4 of us that are up here, and we're still learning every day, and we're still making mistakes, and we still talk to each other to go, hey, do you know somebody that's doing this or doing that? Finding that ecosystem of partners that you can work with to help you figure your way through those things, because if you're selling sports bars all day long and then all of a sudden you go sell a casino or an airport, you're going to need advice on, well, this is a little different, and you want to turn to trusted partners for that. And then I'll throw my little pitch in for the DSF. I mean, the Digital Signage Federation, that's what we do. We help with micro-credentials, education, networking, answering questions, helping you connect with the right vendors that are certified and are leaders in our industry. So, being part of organizations like that where you can expand your contact database to know these companies, so when you run into those issues, you know who to call.
The micro-credentials are really important, I think, for anybody that's interested in getting involved in digital signage. They're essentially, short courses that are all virtual that allow you to have a primer and a basis knowledge and learn from some of our collective mistakes, as well as hear from the voices that have been leading this industry for 25 plus years, including Jeff, including Ryan, that lead a couple of those modules that will help you have a better informed understanding of the market and where it's come from, as well as where it's going.
Yeah, and so I think you talked about before, you're dealing with some of a different clientele, and they're going to have different expectations around the product, and certainly making sure that the reliability is there. When issues do come up with digital signage, and you talked about, hey, you don't want to disrupt a client when you're installing it. How does the rest of that relationship look like post-installation when you're going back to them and they need you for service, they need you for upgrades, and even beyond that, I guess we can kind of lead into a conversation about RMR, like, the content management's completely different than on the residential side. But let's start with the service aspect.
So from a service standpoint, we actually have it on display in our booth here. It's quite common to use remote device management tools. We have a device management platform that is a standalone offering. Navori has embedded device management tools in their offering. So using those types of tools to be able to triage and troubleshoot remotely before your technician even needs to go to site, in some cases precluding the need to go to site altogether, is really important. It lowers the cost of service, it improves your overall service value to your customer, and in many cases can resolve an issue without having to spend unnecessary time and money. So that's one thing. I think the other is planning for kind of that day two piece, not only from an operational and support standpoint, but content. I mean, these things have to stay fresh. So digital signage is really attractive, I think, for a lot of the integration community, because it's a really sticky proposition. You are tied to your customer in a meaningful way from a business partner relationship standpoint that a Pro AV project doesn't necessarily necessitate. Usually a Pro AV, conference room, what have you, that installation's done, the project's done, everybody's happy, and you may not ever hear from them again unless there's a big problem or a warranty issue. With digital signage, you're touching the customer much more frequently, and that presents opportunities to grow your revenue and your margin with that client incrementally over time.
Jeffrey, are you seeing the same kind of thing with what it can provide for a longer relationship with that client?
100%. Digital signage is sticky, and digital signage is something that once you're in the door, it leads to a strong run rate business and also strong referral business. So it all goes back to the underlying message, which is the best way to do well day two in digital signage is to make good decisions on day one. So find the experts that find the vendors that that are already doing the business, come to the DSF, leverage what's available to you to make informed decisions, get good partners, get good products, and the good products will give you the right tool sets to put a solution in front of your customer that's going to be reliable, that will lead to that run rate business and lead to that referral business, which will lead to growth for your own business.
And Megan?
I echo what Jeff said. I mean, it's really, you're going to get that referral business from one opportunity. It will lead to the next if you do a good job. As long as you're informed, you ask the right questions of your partners, someone can lead you there and make sure that you're successful.
I think the thing I'd add to that is, it is sticky, you have the better connection, but the big thing for your business is it helps you build recurring revenue. It's not just a hang and bang that you went and installed and you're off to selling the next one. Recurring revenue, I mean, that's the holy grail for all of us building businesses, right?
And so do you get that from the service side of things too, where because it's something that needs to be 24/7 reliability, and you might have to swap in a certain display here and there, or different things with micro LEDs and those kind of video walls, or upgrade the audio?
I think it depends on the industry you're in, right? If I'm in a quick serve restaurant, dependability is really important, because if my menu board goes down at lunchtime, I'm in trouble. But if I'm a school and maybe the board's out for a day, maybe that's not as big of a deal if it's digital signage in the hallway. So it a little bit depends on what the client type is. But again, back to residuals or recurring revenue, like those are managed services contracts. What does the client want? And then that's gonna dictate what the cost is to provide that level of service.
And with the certain clients that you guys are dealing with, and some of what we're hoping that the residential integrators are going to find more going over to the commercial side, tell us about anything that they're going to experience on the bid process side, and how that might look for certain clients where, maybe beyond bars and restaurants, but they're going to have interactions with, different end users, different decision makers, and what they might experience there.
Probably the most unfamiliar territory beyond content, which is usually very subjective. There's a lot of various stakeholders that have input into what that content strategy would be, and usually it evolves over time. So day one is not necessarily what's happening day two and down the line. It is probably IT conversations, understanding security protocols and how you can confidently put things on a customer's network that's not going to present risk. And that's a lot about what our device management platform is all about, is risk mitigation. Cloud services are ubiquitous, which is great, but it also presents a lot of challenges and potential hazards to a customer's network, especially when they've got mission critical operations like their POS terminals riding on the same network as their digital signage. So thinking through that and better understanding those impacts is really important.
Just in terms of some of the technology, one of the things that we're going to hear a lot about at CD Expo this week is just AI, artificial intelligence, and its applications throughout, every sector of the industry. When it comes to digital signage and some commercial projects that you're starting to hear potential implementations of that, what's striking you in terms of where digital signage is headed in the
We've
future?
been using AI for a long time. I mean, AI has been part of our DNA in this industry for 20 years. Not generative AI. Generative AI is a little bit different, and the promise of what that can do is only just now kind of coming to light. But Jeff and the Aquaji product that they use AI and computer vision already. We say AI and kind of artificial intelligence, everybody assumes that it's all the same level of intelligence. And the reality is that it may be artificial and it may be intelligent, but there's a lot of tiers in that intelligence strata.
Correct, yeah, it's definitely, what's interesting about AI and digital signage is it changes the discussion quite a bit. So we launched our AI product in 2020. It's a computer vision solution, so it provides similar metrics to what you would use to measure the performance of your website, for example, or your online performance. So think about if you wanted to measure that, you'd look at what's the total traffic, what are your unique visitors, how many people click on a certain link, if someone lands on a certain page, are they more likely to buy a certain product? And people have teams that measure this on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis to drive continuous improvement. And I think the underlying basis of AI in digital signage is continuous improvement and driving it forward and all doing better. So there was always this underlying question in the industry, which is, what's the return on investment of inputting digital signage? And which contents or campaigns are most effective? So AI gives you a way to actually measure that and put a real number against it. And it goes one step further. So once you've started to understand what works and what doesn't, AI can actually, in our tool, we could literally curate content on the fly. So if you have media specific to a certain profile of your audience, we can make sure that that content plays in a greater proportion when that audience is present. So that's just the beginning of the use cases. But if you fast forward, digital signage, the future of it is to be smarter. It's to target the right person. And I'm going to steal a line that's been used over and over and over throughout the time I've been in the industry, but you want to get the right message to the right person at the right moment. And the only way to do that is to know which person is there at any particular moment. And that's what AI can do.
Yeah, I think AI is going to definitely change the software industry around digital signage, radically over the next 3 to 5 years. I think what'll be most interesting is it'll be hard for the small companies coming in with AI because they don't have the data points. When you look at Meta and Google and that, even Tesla, if you look at self-driving cars, they have billions of data points that help them teach those learning models. So this is going to be where the big digital signage software companies that have lots of nodes out there, they're going to have that data, and they're really going to be the ones that are revolutionizing and changing this.
So are you thinking that from the end user standpoint too, they're going to look at it and just consider a whole bunch of applications, or the manufacturers are going to see different things that they haven't even thought about yet? Are you seeing the evolution not of just the technology, but of those use cases?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's evolving every day, and I think any manufacturer, software provider, any company in general that's not looking at AI and how it's going to impact and influence their business is in trouble right now. I mean, it's changing things really fast.
Great. Well, I think on that note, we'll head over to some Q&A. If anyone in the audience has questions of our great panelists, obviously we have a lot of expertise in different areas up here. We have the podium right in the center, so feel free to get up and tap into their knowledge. All right. If not, we'll wrap things up. So again, I'd like to thank the Digital Signage Federation for sponsoring the session, and definitely would like to thank Ryan, Megan, Jeffrey, and Jay for being a part of it and sharing some excellent insights on a product category that I think would definitely be applicable to our audience, and obviously a lot of opportunities going down the pike for sure. So thanks again, and we really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank everyone else for taking the time out to sit here and listen to it. Appreciate it.